What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. We're taking a look at Stray here running on the Steam Deck, and in this video we're pretty much going to focus on settings and performance for the game. We'll also go over my preferred settings that I've settled into after playing the game for a couple hours in case you want to try those out. But when it comes down to it, it's a PC game and you'll be able to run it any way you want, and for the most part the game's running pretty well. Now let me show you what settings we're starting with here. It's pretty much the default settings. I wanted to see what those would do, which drops our resolution scale down to 80%. Motion blur I turned off even though it was on by default, and then we've got medium for shadows and effects and high for textures and mesh quality. Now you'll see as I walk around here in this part of the game, in the beginning area, we do have very performance that will kind of take us down below the 30 FPS mark. And from my experience so far in playing the game, this area is actually much harder to run than a lot of the areas are in the city, which we'll take a look at as well. But I wanted to use this spot as an example to kind of give an idea of why we're going to settle in where we're at. But you can see there with 100% resolution scale, we do lose a lot more performance. And to be honest, for the most part, we are going to wind up settling into that 80%, but we'll talk about that more as well. Now, even if I change things down to low, low, medium, medium, which is bringing it down a step from what the default was, with 100% resolution scale, we're still going to suffer a bit here in this area. Again, this is just a small example of one spot, but I do know this spot can be difficult to run. We do get frame rate drops, so it was able to give me an idea of how things were performing and what I wanted to do once we got deeper into the gameplay. Now we're going to go back to that 80% and we're going to turn motion blur off. Everything's basically back to our defaults now. So I want to go back to the default settings with motion blur off, and we'll go ahead and get into some more gameplay where it's going to matter, which is in the city where you're running around and playing. And like I said, performance here is actually better than what you get in that beginning area. Although there are spots as I get into the game that could still dip, which is why I wind up settling on the settings that I do at the end of the video. Now right here, what we've done is change back to 100% resolution scale with everything else the same. And you can see we've lost a good bit of performance compared to what we were getting just a second ago in that other clip, but it would be playable. However, that stutter there when loading into a new area, that's not just indicative on the Steam Deck. That's happening on other PCs and I believe the console a bit as well. It's just kind of what the game's doing. They'll probably straighten that out in a patch, but anyways, this spot right here with the 100% resolution in this area of the city, you can see we're dipping kind of like we were in that beginning area of the game, even down to 30 or less here. I believe we saw a 29 there. So I'm going to go back in and simply put us back to the 80%, which is the default settings with motion blur turned off. And that'll help get rid of a good bit of that for us, and we'll be able to hang on to a few more frames. This will especially help if you're looking to lock the game to 30 FPS or 40 FPS. Which is kind of the point of doing all this, is to figure out what the highs and lows are so that I can figure out what settings are best for 30 and 40 FPS lock, because I really think that this game, the way it runs, that running at 30 or 40 on your Steam Deck's probably the best way to go. And that's what I've done here. We're at the Steam Deck 40 FPS, which you guys know if you followed me here. I love this setting on the Steam Deck, and it's great for so many games, including Stray. So you'll see here we get a pretty solid 40 FPS. So let's get into the settings, which I've adjusted everything to get this 40 FPS, and I'm at 80% on the resolution scale. VSync is on, no motion blur, medium effects, low shadows, high texture, and medium on the mesh quality. If I go to 100% resolution, we do have too much trouble holding the 40 FPS. If you're going to go 30 FPS, you might be able to go ahead and bump up that resolution to 90 or 100. I don't really want to go below 80. It's already bad enough. We're 800p and then we're lowering that 20%. So, but anyways, the game's running great at this 40 FPS cap. So I highly recommend playing Stray on your Steam Deck. Less fan noise, a little less power usage from time to time, depending on where you're at in the game. Is just overall better for running the game. I think it holds a really nice solid 40 FPS. It gets rid of those micro stutters and issues that you have with the unlocked frame rate. Gives you a little bit of overhead on your system, and you'll get a little bit more time out of it. So anyways, I'm really enjoying this game. I've got a couple hours into it, and it's a little bit different than what I anticipated it to be when I saw the original trailer, but I'm really enjoying it, and it is a short game at 4 to 6 hours, so I'll definitely be able to beat it. It's a great little title to play on the Steam Deck. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, if you haven't already subscribed, thumbs up, ring the bell, leave me your comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.